Despite weeks of repairs following Russian attacks on its energy infrastructure, 700 residential buildings in Kyiv remain without heating.
The foreign ministers of EU states decided on new sanctions against Iran on Thursday. The measures target around 30 actors over the brutal suppression of anti-government protests.
Following weeks of repairs, Kyiv's mayor said more than 700 residential buildings in the capital remain without heating. It comes as Russia continues to target Ukraine's energy infrastructure, cutting many citizens off from heat and electricity at the peak of winter. Just in January, Russian drone and missile attacks on the capital left 1 million people without electricity and thousands of apartment buildings without heating.
І без світла дуже важко жити. Плакати хочеться, так що ось термометр, там взагалі 4,3, зранку було 2. Якщо зараз 4, на дворі 20, я не знаю, це буде мінус 10. Це буде катастрофа, і, звісно, люди ж не виживають, і ми не виживемо, не витерпимо. У мене руки людяні.
The government set up numerous emergency heating tent camps across the city. Veterans are also volunteering to help Kyiv residents overcome a difficult time. In the Desniansky district, a support point was set up on the initiative of veterans. Here, local residents can come in for a cup of hot tea or a bowl of hot soup.
Люди розгорнули його вчора за ініціативи ветеранів 3-го армійського корпусу. Знаєте, у нас в Києві склалася така ситуація, що в свій час кияни активно допомагали та донатили військовим, а тепер військові прийшли підтримати киян у такий скрутний час.
The capital is frequently targeted by Moscow. However, Kyiv loosened its military curfew last week to allow more people to access heated tents and public buildings at night.
The foreign ministers of EU states decided on new sanctions against Iran on Thursday. The measures target around 30 actors over the brutal suppression of anti-government protests and support for Russia's war in Ukraine. Human rights groups estimate thousands killed in recent unrest, with some EU ministers citing up to 30,000 victims. Tens of thousands were also arrested as Iran blocked phones and internet to suppress information about the demonstrations. The sanctions follow US moves and come amid Trump's threats of potential military action against Iran. France, once hesitant over detained citizens, now backs the listing with no impunity for crimes committed.
Cette décision, ou cette position de la France, est aussi un appel aux autorités iraniennes à libérer les prisonniers qui, par dizaines de milliers, ont été jetés dans les prisons du régime, à mettre fin aux exécutions qui poursuivent la répression qui fut la plus violente de l'histoire contemporaine de l'Iran, à rétablir l'accès aux communications et à Internet et à rendre au peuple iranien la capacité à décider pour lui-même.
At least 6,373 people have been killed in the protests, according to activists. The Guard, born of Iran's 1979 revolution, operates in parallel to the regular forces and wields vast economic power.
Vietnam and the European Union have upgraded their ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership as European Council President Antonio Costa visited Hanoi. The upgrade, Vietnam's highest diplomatic level, puts the EU on the same footing as the US, China, and Russia. It comes amid global trade uncertainties driven by US tariff pressure and President Donald Trump's aggressive trade policy outlook. In an apparent indirect jab at the US, Costa says the partnership fulfills Brussels' goal of diversifying its trade networks in seek of, quote, reliable and predictable partners.
At a moment when international rules-based order is under threat from multiple sides, we need to start to stand side by side as reliable and predictable partners. It is about developing spheres of shared prosperity, but it is also about the credibility of international rules.
Trade between Brussels and Hanoi has reached close to 56 billion euros in the first 11 months of 2025, representing an almost 7% growth from figures a year prior. The EU is Vietnam's fourth largest trading partner, while Vietnam is the EU's biggest in Southeast Asia. Officials predict the boosted partnership will further increase trade and create what Costa called spheres of shared prosperity.
Montenegrin transporters ended their freight traffic blockade on Thursday after government talks. Truck drivers had parked near the borders with Albania, Serbia, Croatia and Bosnia since Monday. They demanded more subsidies, faster VAT refunds, and changes to ETIAS, a mandatory pre-travel authorization required for visa exemption. Solutions were found for most issues, including 72-hour transit times and phytosanitary inspector hours. Trucks are now withdrawing from border crossings. The association says the economy and all citizens will benefit as transport resumes.
6 people died as Storm Christine battered Portugal with winds reaching record speeds and causing widespread flooding, landslides and damage. 3 people died in Leiria, one in Marinha Grande, one in Silves and another in Villafranca as the storm entered Portugal from the Leiria area on Wednesday before progressing inland. The central and western parts of the country were the most affected, particularly the district of Coimbra and Leiria. Cities are recovering from the damage and assessing losses, while around 1 million people were left without electricity. The Portuguese government announced on Thursday that it had decided to declare a state of emergency in the areas most affected by the storm. Civil protection authorities recorded more than 5,400 incidents by 10 p.m. on Wednesday. At its peak, Storm Christine reached gusts of 202 kilometers per hour. The IPMA forecasts an improvement in the weather as the Christine depression has moved away from Portugal towards Spain.
New footage emerged revealing Alex Preti in an altercation with federal agents just 11 days before he was fatally shot by Border Patrol officers. Preti can be seen yelling at the agents as they drive away. He at one point kicks at the taillight of the vehicle, which causes it to shatter. The move prompts an officer to get out of the car, and he continues to forcefully pin Preti to the ground. Some agents join him while others direct themselves at the onlooking crowd. It is unclear whether Preti manages to break free or if the agents let go as he scurries away. At some point in the video, Preti turns his back to the camera, which reveals he is carrying a gun in his waistband. At no point in the video does he reach for the weapon. Bystanders yell at the officers to go before the agents set off tear gas canisters and eventually withdraw.
Just go!
As the officers drive away, a man approaches to ask Preti if he is okay. Preti confirms that he is and then turns to ask others if they are safe.
I'm okay. Are we all okay? Are we all safe? We okay?
The Department of Homeland Security said it is reviewing the footage. Preti's killing comes weeks after another U.S. citizen, Renee Good, was shot by immigration agents in Minneapolis while seated in her car. The 2 deaths sparked widespread anger and criticism over Trump's immigration crackdown. On Wednesday, hundreds joined a vigil to honor Preti.
It was him, but it could have been any of us. I mean, he was trying to help someone, and that's kind of what we're all about, what we're always trying to do.
Similar vigils also took place in other cities, including in Washington, D.C.
Discovered back in 1912, this Republican-era home has remained largely unknown for more than a century, but that's about to change. From March, House of the Griffins, dating back to between the late 2nd and the mid-1st century BC, which we were given exclusive access to, will finally open to the public.
Cioè, in questo caso noi abbiamo la casa più antica dell'epoca repubblicana a Roma, finora almeno testimoniata, e soprattutto la casa che mantiene un elevato sistema decorativo sia nei pavimenti che nelle pareti. Quindi noi abbiamo, diciamo, un canale di informazione di quello che era un sistema di vita in età repubblicana, come non.
The conservation project, like many others in the area, was made possible thanks to funding from the EU's Post-COVID Recovery Fund. Visitors will be able to explore the site through a remotely accessible, real-time guided experience, allowing the public to discover the site while protecting its fragile remains, a solution designed to preserve the artifacts that have survived for centuries.
Il tentativo con il progetto del PNRR era rivolgersi a un'accessibilità totale, l'accessibilità totale intesa per tutti, legata però alla possibilità di fruire la visione della domus e degli affreschi, anche con degli apparati, diciamo, multimediali evocativi della casa, che quindi ci consentono anche di vedere come la casa effettivamente era nel suo momento, diciamo, di vita, ma ovviamente è impossibile in questo momento, così come abbiamo la fruizione, perché non solo per un problema conservativo degli affreschi, ma anche perché l'unico sistema di discesa alla casa è una scala molto ripida, originale, e quindi non abbiamo la possibilità, diciamo, al momento di offrire un sistema alternativo.
After centuries, the doors of this luxurious multi-level residence, believed to have once belonged to a wealthy Roman senator, are reopening, offering a rare and vivid glimpse into daily life in ancient Rome.